Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Uncommon Sense. I am your host, Christopher West, and we are back with another fantastic episode. This episode is going to be very important. Hopefully, you all watched and finished the last episode about the basics of neuroscience, because this is going to be getting into how all the mindsets manifest through the neuroscience that I talked about in my last episode. So this is explaining what kind of forms of thinking will manifest when you have certain types of brain imbalances. So we're going to jump right into it. This episode is going to be titled "The Schism," the world schism, the mental schism in the worldview. The schism of the individual is critical to understand, because not only is the schism within the individual, but it's a schism of worldview. So how this person is going to view himself is going to be how he views the world, himself within it, and his or her relationship with others. So it's very important, because people don't realize people's mindsets make them who they are. It sounds like common sense, but it sounds like it all makes sense, and it sounds stupid and sounds super simple, but nobody really understands how it's manifesting throughout all of society, and this is how. So, excuse me. The mental schism, it highlights basically what will happen, what kinds of thinking will manifest when certain types of brain imbalance are present. So when we're talking about the schism that most of humanity is in, which is over-intellectualizing everything, and we're too much in the left side, the left hemisphere, what that can lead to is rigid skepticism, which is not conducive to learning. People aren't going to really learn if they're rigidly skeptical, which is a hallmark of scientism, which if you've never heard of scientism, I suggest you do. If you've never heard of scientism, I'm guessing you believe in science very much, and you consider yourself somebody who likes to be very logical. Scientismists, for lack of a better term, have this rigid skepticism, because they're purely intellectual. They're not really intelligent. The creative aspect is missing from their personality makeup. Atheism is a hallmark of overly dominant left brain thinking, because they have shunned all aspects of spiritual reality. There is no spirit. The universe is a grand cosmic accident. From there, you get things like solipsism. People might ask, well, isn't solipsism purely right brain thinking? No, it's left brain imbalance as well. Solipsism can be generated from both forms of imbalance, which is believing nothing can actually be known. That's what solipsism is, believing that everything outside of your own experience is not real. Reality is not real, which doesn't even make sense, because I can argue you're all experiencing me talking right now. You're all watching this video, but if that were true, you guys aren't real at all. But you guys are having your own experience. I know you are, because I'm not stupid. So let's see. There is no truth. Truth is a dirty word for many left brain individuals, you'll notice. Now, what comes next is moral relativism. Moral relativism is the next idea, that there's no such difference between right and wrong. We entirely get to make those up. They don't exist inherently in nature. We can just decide on what right and wrong is for ourselves and make it up randomly. So these are very, very dangerous ideologies we're going to be talking about a lot. Social Darwinism, I get that, social Darwinism inevitably comes after that. This is the idea that a certain class of society can direct how the lives of everybody else will go, because they're the most intellectual, the so-called intelligent, that over-intellectualize everything because they're the fittest. Darwin postulates the survival of the fittest, while social Darwinism postulates the survival of the most socially ruthless. And that may sound familiar. It sounds kind of like capitalism. Whoever truly is the most socially ruthless, who will do what it takes to get over, to stand up with somebody, will make it in life. That is how society works. Now, one thing I want to point out that this podcast is truly about truth. And the truth, in the sense that I'm using it, is not a subjective truth. The truth in the way that I'm using it, is what is and what was, what has occurred and what is occurring in reality. So it doesn't matter if the healthcare system or government's intention is good. What is truly occurring is people are going to healthcare systems, people are going to government, people are going to these corporations, and their lives are becoming worse. That is what's happening. Whether or not we want that to be happening, which people who are in control do want it to be happening, but whether or not that's the alleged intention or not, that is what's happening. Is healthcare in America actually helping people, or is it putting people in massive amounts of health-related debt? What is truly happening? That's what this podcast is pointing out. What is actually happening? So, many people have this mindset of social Darwinism as being the natural order. Many people believe that the natural order is social Darwin. People actually believe that's the natural order, and it couldn't be any further from the truth. What social Darwinism really is the psychopathic chaos. Now think about that. The psychopathic chaos. Because whoever can be the most socially ruthless, you have to be a psychopath and not truly care about people. You know what I'm saying? To get ahead on people, you have to not care. You have to be selfish sometimes. To teach you when you go to college, teach you as you grow up and get become a young adult, you have to be a little bit selfish. You got to take your time for yourself. Now, these are all steps on how to become better, but that's because that's what you need to do in this society. That's what you need to do in general, because everybody's on that mode of thinking. So if you're not thinking like that, you're gonna get stepped on regardless, because everybody else is already there. Regardless if your morals, I don't want to do that. Whether you're soft and squishy, people don't care. That's how this society works. That's not how nature works. That's not how humanity is supposed to work. That's how we make society work. This society works that way. There are also hallmarks. These are also hallmarks of dark occultism. Moral relativism being one of the tenets of Satanism. It's actually one of the pillars of Satanism. Social Darwinism is highly praised and valued in Satanism. And eugenics. People typically don't know what eugenics is. Eugenics is basically people who have gone so deep into left brain imbalance that they believe they're God and get to decide who lives and who dies. We get to decide who gets to breed and who will not, who ultimately gets to live and who does not get to live. These are all forms of authoritarianism. All forms of authoritarianism and its idea that man is author, man is the creator, man is God, man is the law. We will decide what is right and what is wrong, who gets to live, etc. That's essentially what all these forms of thought are. Extreme left brain imbalance. That's what all these forms of thought are. Extreme left brain imbalance. Just like how certain things can manifest. For example, let's talk about home safety. How does everybody now, home safety is the mode of thought, but how do they manifest? Somebody might buy a gun. Somebody might get dogs. Somebody might get an alarm system. Somebody might set up security cameras. But those are all modes and forms of home security thinking. All of these things, social Darwinism, all these things such as, what was the other example I had? Survival of the fittest, and eugenics. All these things are forms of being the master and how you can accomplish those things. They're just forms, or just softer and more intense forms of the same idea, like ideas. And although all those come because you have the left brain imbalance. Now, for the right hemisphere, it will lead to similar kinds of imbalance, but in the exact opposite form. The brain is completely imbalanced, so they're not in a high state of consciousness, meaning they are still completely unaware of what's going on within and around them. The manifestation is generally the opposite of the left brain form of imbalance. So, if you're a real right brain imbalanced person, this will lead to naivete, believing anything you're told, accepting things from official channels and official sources without actually checking in on them for yourself. Blind belief, people believing the next religion that comes along, just telling people what they want to hear. All right, I'll believe that. New Agers are in this category. Naivete and blind belief. People who trust government, of course, are in this category as well. Because again, it's about creating masters and the slaves. That's what brain imbalance is for. Let me say that again. That's what brain imbalance is for, creating the masters and the slaves. And that's why those in control want to propagate this imbalance and keep it in place. Because you can say nobody's propagating this, but this is what the only options are. That's why it doesn't seem like it's being propagated. It seems like those are the only realities. This doesn't seem like it's being propagated because those are the only things that exist in our society. So they are being propagated because those, number one, are not the only ways and modes of thinking in reality. But in our reality, in our mainstream, in politics, it is left and right. It is side and side. There is no mix. That's how it works. So they are being propagated to keep these system in place because they are modes and techniques of mind control. This brain imbalance is a level of mind control. And the reason it seems like these are not being propagated, it seems like these are just the only things that we're thinking of, is because they're hitting us with, that is what we call hitting the only available source of information. To us, it seems they're not being propagated because that's all there is. That's not all there is. That's all we think there is. So it doesn't even seem like it's being propagated in the first place. It just seems like that's what we need to talk about because that's all there is to talk about. That's not all there is to talk about. That's just what they're putting in our faces. Sorry, I keep on losing my place. So that's what this brain imbalance is for. And that's why those who are in control want to propagate this imbalance and keep it in place. Now, religious extremism is a hallmark of right brain imbalance. Solipsism, again, no such thing as truth. Feelings of unworthiness and self-loathing. Accepting orders from other people, or order following. Order following is one of the strongest evils in the world. The act of just accepting someone else's order and acting them out without thinking for yourself whether or not the action is moral or not. All of these modes of thought create willing slaves. Right brain imbalance is ultimately creating a slave, while left brain imbalance is ultimately creating a psychopathic master. Truly, they are all forms of mind control. It is just another aspect of how mind control works. The propagators of mind control are just trying to keep that kind of imbalance in place. They don't even necessarily care which form it is, so long as they have some that are in one form and some that are in another. The dynamic will naturally play against itself, and we will continue to have a world kept under lockdown. Now, I don't mean lockdown from this coronavirus, I just mean lockdown in general. So let's look at the worldview schism that goes hand in hand with the mental schism. So that's how people think in their own world and how it manifests through their day-to-day decisions, through their own conversations, through how they pick their jobs. Because based on your worldview, that's what you're gonna pick a job for. Someone who believes eating meat is bad isn't gonna work, at a butcher shop. Somebody who believes science is the arbiter of truth and we should do whatever it takes to cure cancer is gonna be torturing monkeys for a living, trying to cure cancer. You know what I'm saying? So these worldviews, or these worldviews within the self, manifest into the entire world as individuals. So, where was I? So let's look at a worldview schism that goes hand in hand with the mental schism. Worldview is exactly what it says. How do you view the world, and how do you view yourself within it, and how do you view others within it? When there's chronic left brain dominance, the worldview that emerges is one of randomness. Again, this is the hallmark of scientism. The world is a grand cosmic accident. The whole universe is an accident. There's no purpose, no creator. Everything magically manifests on its own for no reason from a single point in space-time, for no reason at all. Those are true belief systems. The universe, everything creation, me, my eyes, this conversation, every single thing ever. This bottle, my phone, the computer, these Reese pieces, the galaxy, the stars, the universe, space itself, just empty space of existence, all manifested for no reason and out of one single speck of space-time. That's a true belief. That's a true mode of thinking. People believe this. People live their lives walking down the street, going to Walmart. People live their lives thinking that, living their life as that is their base of reality. That is their base of what the point of life is. That is their base of who they are. The world is random. That's a true way of people. I don't understand it, but I'm sorry, I lost my piece again. So let's see. Okay, here we go. For no reason at all. Give me that one, and science will tell you everything after that. But you got to give scientismists that one. There's no underlying intelligence. These are the examples of this mindset. There's no underlying intelligence in nature. Nature is dead. That's what this worldview is about. It's a dead thing. It's a mechanized machine that's there for no reason. There is no such thing as spirit at all. No such thing as the spiritual dimension, and certainly no such thing as natural law. Because for one to accept natural law, well, where would it have come from? You'd have to be creative for that. Now, 2/3 of people actually don't believe in objective morality or objective truth. They truly believe it is all relative, and we make it up based on our perception. We are at 2/3 of people. 2/3 of people who believe that truth is subjective. Now, if you ask the same people, 88, almost 90% believe karma is real and acting within reality. The very same people who believe we make up right and wrong and hold that notion in their head are the very same people who believe karma is real and hold that in their minds. When you ask them, well, what force put it in place? What made it so? They have no answer, yet they intuitively believe in karma. They have no answer because that would involve a creator, and somebody in left brain imbalance can't acknowledge a creator. So to the left brain imbalanced, there is no such thing as spiritual or natural law. It doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, existence itself has no purpose other than to continue its own existence. You see, survival is the highest aspiration in the left brain imbalanced worldview. Right and wrong have no bearing. There is no point in even discussing it, because right is what's right for me if I'm super left brain imbalanced, and wrong is whatever affects me negatively. It doesn't matter what's actually moral. It's all subjective to a left brain imbalanced individual. To them, nothing has any purpose. Since it's all grand cosmic accident, how could there be a purpose without a creator who's going to create the purpose for it? So it has no purpose other than to continue surviving. And again, that's more proof. Like I said, the left brain comes from the R complex. Is mainly coming from the R complex. The right brain is mainly coming from the limbic system, the emotional brain. That's more proof that the left brain imbalanced person is mainly functioning out of the R complex, the survival mechanism of the brain. Survival is the highest goal. Survival is the only aspiration. Now, in Satanism, as the left brain, that's about as left brain as balanced as it gets. You know what their number one rule is? Survival. Survival is the highest law in Satanism. We hear about it in Darwinism too. The ultimate purpose of the being is to continue to survive. I personally would highly debate that. I would actually disagree with that mode of thinking. There are laws higher than survival. But in Satanism, they refer to it as self-preservation. That means preservation of systems of belief as well. Systems that are serving the self, the egoic self. They must continue to survive as well if the individual is to continue on. Self-preservation is the number one highest law in Satanism, and it doesn't matter who you need to step on to do it. Who you need to step on to get a one-up on somebody else also. This is extreme left brain imbalance worldview. Now, who does that sound like? Preservation of self and preservations of systems, because that's the most efficient way to preserve yourself. And as you can clearly see, these billionaires and millionaires have plenty of money to are beyond survival. They are beyond survival, but that is their number one goal, which is why they're not sharing the money, sharing the wealth, splitting it, doing all this nonsense, because they are strictly on survival. They're keeping systems in place to preserve their survival. Whether or not they themselves individually consider them Satanists, I'm going to get more into it once I get to my topic that is strictly about Satanism, but our whole entire culture is subjected into a miniature, low-level ideology of Satanism, and many of us don't even realize our ideology is based on satanic beliefs. So those billionaires, which I believe most of them are knowing, willing Satanists, some people who are successful don't even realize they're holding on to satanic tenets. So all of the characteristics in the randomness worldview are hallmarks of scientism, atheism, totalitarianism, and dark occultism or Satanism. On the other side, on the right brain imbalance side of the worldview, there's another worldview called determinism. Now let me see where I am on time right now. Alright, I'm 20 minutes in. I'm actually going to pause this video right now. Stay tuned because I know y'all motherfuckers ain't got no type of time or fucking attention span. So most of y'all stopped watching after about 8 minutes to about 5 minutes. That's what my YouTube algorithms keep telling me. So I'm just going to pause it right here because I know there's no point in continuing. But like, subscribe, make sure you watch the video before this, the basics of neuroscience, because that explains the physiology of the brain, how consciousness works physically. And this is explaining how it manifests in our day-to-day lives. So once again, pay attention, research this, watch it multiple times, like and subscribe, share this shit. All y'all black folks I'm friends with, support me because I'm a black psychologist and I'm a black philosopher, and y'all keep on talking all that bullshit. Support black people. Nigga right here. I need some support. So I'm looking at y'all the most, looking at y'all the hardest. Well, that's it.